Hey, everybody.
Hey,
How's it going? I got a decent crowd on tonight, which is not surprising because we're talking about something specifically deer hunting and scouting deer in the summertime. So,
yeah, a
um,
lot of people on there. If you look really close, you can see Stan P in there.
yeah, Jacob's on tonight.
Ron's garage,
Lee,
right over
Ron,
there.
yeah. Bunch of familiar faces as usual. I got
Yeah,
my Zeke Outdoors hat on tonight. I like this hat. I don't know what kind this is. I really like it though.
I wore mine turkey hunting because this one's black.
Oh yeah, in a blind. Were you in a blind?
No, I just running around. I don't want them to see my
Oh
hat. So
yeah, yep. You guys, no, you run around with Rick, right?
yeah, I put him on a giant bird and he missed. He was pretty
Oh yeah.
upset too.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
was a real big bird,
Like a what do you mean by big? Like a big old long beard, or just like a big bird, just
just
tall and
giant size wise. It looked like a barrel.
yeah.
So it's a property that's leased by the DNR for public hunting, just for turkeys,
Yep.
and nobody ever hunts there. I've seen one car there once in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, that property's been around long enough that me and Dave hunted it together.
Mm.
Um, and I never see anybody there. And the back side of the property that's kind of overlooked, even if somebody did come there, on the back of it, there's always these big turkeys over there and lots of turkeys. And I don't think they're even hunted. So the neighboring property is just open field for miles. They got like some huge kilometer farm.
Yeah.
And we went by and there was two gigantic toms out in that field with a couple hens, and they were probably about a mile from where we could hunt, but open flat field. And Rick's like, "Let's go try calling them to the woods." I'm like, "They're not going to go that far, Rick." And he's like, "Let's." I'm like, "Rick, calm down. We're going to watch them, and we'll go over and we'll look at some of the other stuff. We'll come back, see where they're at. Eventually, they'll go over by that woods because it's only woods." I said, "You just got to be patient." So we went around, chased some other stuff around, and we come back, and one of the birds is halfway across the field and alone now and headed towards that woods. I'm like, that's a killable bird. He's alone. And I mean, he was huge. So we run around and get set up and go through the woods and get to the other side. And we figured that that bird had to go a quarter mile to get to the woods. And we come up to the other side and we creep up to the woods. And I look out, into the grass area in front of me. And here this Tom is like 40 yards from me strutting. He's strutting at the sound of us walking, so he thinks we're a hen or something.
Yeah.
There's no hen around. I'm like, oh. And I thought for sure it's seen me because I had popped into the open, but it's still strutting. So I just kind of dropped down quick and it never stopped strutting. So I got up against a tree and I told him to get against a tree. And I said, "Is it still strutting?" He goes, "Yeah." So I hit the call and it immediately gobbled and came to the edge of the high grass. It wouldn't come any further. And Rick got his rangefinder out and he said, "It's 55 yards. And I said, "You can hit him at 55 yards with that load and that gun for sure." And, he never patterned it, I guess, but he lives in an apartment. So anywho, he's like, "I think it's too far." I go, "You can hit him at that range." I said, "But, I says, if you don't feel comfortable, wait. And if he starts to leave, if he doesn't come in, we'll just slide down to where the grass comes closer to the trees and then he'll get that close. And we'll just call him back over again." He's really worked up. And I don't more than get that out of my mouth and boom. And he went down and he jumps up, he puts the gun down and the turkey jumps up and flies away. And
Oh
if it were
no.
me, there'd have been a second shot. I mean, I'm always ready for that second shot. But anywho, he turns right to me and he goes, "You told me to shoot. I told you it was too far." I'm like, "I didn't tell you to shoot. I told you it was in range." I said, "If you didn't feel comfortable." So then we went back to my house and patterned the gun. And at that range, he had 9 pellets in the head
Yeah.
on the target. So then he put in that 9-shot heavy load
Yeah.
TSS crap.
Tungsten. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, he put 30 pellets in the head at that range. But man, it's hard to believe that little 9-shot has enough knockdown power on a turkey at that range. But I like a heavier load, but sure puts a lot of pellets in there.
Yeah. Yep. Maddie shot her bird with that TSS at probably like 35 yards with the 20 gauge, and it knocked it cold. But 35 yards is it's that's a big difference between there and 55,
35 yards is about perfect 35 yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost kind of don't like being able to shoot them at 50 and 60, with the better loads and stuff. It almost seems like it takes something away from it. Like you're not really, it's almost like bow hunting versus rifle hunting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of liked it when you had to bring them in closer.
Yeah. I haven't switched to TSS on my gun. I don't know if I could shoot that far. I patterned it to 40 and that's about it.
I still take them in as close as I can before I shoot, but I always feel like now they're going to leave at any minute.
Yeah.
And maybe they were going to, maybe they weren't, but they just looked the other way, and I think they're going to take off. I don't know, something about that.
Once I shoot up these number 5s I have, I may go to that, but it's hard to spend whatever $70 on a box of shells when you got a bunch of them already, that do just fine right now. So, but I guess if I was going to do it all over again, that's what I'd probably do. I'd really like to get a real nice light semi-automatic 12 gauge to tote around, but instead of that big Benelli Nova I have, which is what you have too now, I think. But
yep, that's a giant heavy gun.
Yeah, they are substantial whenever you're carrying them around. And mine's like a 28-inch barrel, and
it feels like it should be mounted on the back of a Jeep on a tripod.
Yeah, I mean they're tough as nails, but it's still kind of heavy, and I'd like to get something a little more just nicer, I guess.
Yeah. Rick's out hunting right now.
Oh yeah, he's trying to roost one or something, or just trying to run into one.
He's trying to get on one before dark. Try to find one and get in front of it, like on its way to the roost or whatever. I don't think he's doing too well because he sent me some message like, "Where the hell are all the turkeys?" That was his last message he sent me. They've disappeared.
People are still killing them up there in Wisconsin. I saw Tyler Big Hunt killed one.
I've been seeing a lot of them cruising, looking for him, just out by themselves.
I know Jacob killed one not too long ago, and Wyatt did too, Barber. But
I got another season starting tomorrow. It's the last one, but they always give out a bazillion tags for the last one, so we'll see.
See how crowded it is.
Yeah.
Then you guys are done, right? After that season.
Yeah.
There you go. You got any more nails in that barn you're building? Or is it still at standstill?
The guy showed up today. He moved his equipment.
Oh.
I had some words with him.
Yeah.
He guaranteed me by 1 week from today, the electrical box will be in and be inspected. I told Carol that means 2 weeks from today, maybe it'll be done.
Yeah, maybe. Well, at least he showed up, I guess.
Yeah, he didn't do anything. He just showed up to make sure I saw him show up. He just moved his equipment. He didn't even do any work. So
got nothing accomplished then. Yeah. Yeah.
So got a show coming up pretty soon. End of July.
Yep.
We get
Mobile Hunter
Expo. Michigan guys on here, eh? Kalamazoo is only 4.5 hours from my house.
Yeah, it's about 3.5 for me. It's not very far. It's in southern Michigan, so like pretty, not too far up into Michigan.
What's that called again? The
Mobile Hunter Expo.
Mobile Hunter Expo. So it's if any of you guys are going, the code BEAST gets you $2 off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm probably going to order some more merch for that show. I assume you probably are going to have some too.
I got to get more. One of the packages got ruined in the mail. And they're lost. UPS lost it. They shipped it all over the place, then said it was ruined. And
get your money back for all that?
I didn't pay for it. That was on the end of the person printing the shirts for me.
Oh.
And he's just a little guy. I like him. He's a friend of mine, so I'm helping him out by getting shirts from him because I like what he does. He's really good.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
get shirts from them too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
he was kind of stressing, asking if he could wait to see if they came back so he didn't lose too much money. And I said, you know what? If they come back, I'll buy those too. Just go make the next ones, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right. I'll sell them. So
right.
I mean, and he should get some. He won't get everything, but he should get like half of what they're worth in insurance if he doesn't get them. So that way he can feel a little more at ease.
Yep.
But those are those nice green ones that everybody wants. When I get the next box, and I'll probably put them in the store, but it'll probably be next week or two, and it won't be long after that we'll be at that show.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully you have some left then.
Those green hoodies and shirts with the beast stuff on they rock.
Yeah.
I love those colors.
I think that's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do this time instead of ordering those camo ones. I got to order a few camo ones for certain people, but I think I'm just going to get the regular green color, or whatever color that you can hunt in, and go from there. Because
you could be like the corporate big shots and get a rainbow one.
We could.
Yeah,
maybe like a gag one, gag gift one.
I mean, look how well that kind of stuff worked for Bud Light.
Real well.
Yeah, it could help you out too.
Booming right now. All right. Something else I was wanting to mention on this show. A reminder, everybody, this month is still the ASIO Gear giveaway. So, like most people that watch this show don't subscribe to the channel, which that's like true for the Beast too. So, Joe over at ASIO is going to donate about $300 worth of early season gear to the show to give away. And all you have to do is subscribe and you'll have a chance to win. And if you're already subscribed to this channel and the Hunt and Beast channel, you're good. If you're not subscribed to those two channels, you got to subscribe to them to be eligible to win. And then we're going to give that away at the beginning of June here. So you got about a week.
Nice.
I wanted to remind everybody because we're kind of honing in the last week. And I think we're going to try to do something next month too.
We're going to do it live.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to give it away live.
When I say I won.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm subscribed to both channels.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if it counts if you're the owner of the other channel though. I don't know if they'll pick that one, the random picker.
I remember years ago there was a some biker died or something. They're doing this Harley giveaway at Sturgis. And it was a bunch of shady looking bikers that were giving the Harley away. They're all like Hell's Angels or something. And the guy pulls the name and he goes, "Oh, I won!" And they all get on their bikes and leave. And what are you going to do?
Yeah,
everybody paid for tickets and that.
Oh man, I got a buddy that wins everything. My buddy Alan, he's won like 3 like high-end hunts at these like raffles and stuff. He's just like the luckiest guy I know. I've never really won anything like that. He won like an elk hunt, a sheep hunt, and he won a mule deer hunt last year, I think.
He's so unlucky. How many deer did you kill last year?
Well, I meant like drawings and crap like that, like just dumb luck stuff.
Well, we all got our luck somewhere or another, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have luck. I got skill.
So he kills a bunch of stuff too, but yeah, I hear you.
Just kidding.
You won an elk hunt, didn't you? And then you traded in for a whitetail hunt or something like that. Didn't you do something like that?
I got a choice.
Okay.
I could have taken. It was the first place hunt, and it was the first place in the contest, and it was I could choose between bear hunt in Canada, an elk hunt in Montana, a whitetail hunt in Montana, or pronghorn antelope someplace, all with professional outfitters. And like an idiot, I took whitetails.
That's the one where you're like, didn't your car break down and everything else?
Yeah, that was
out there.
Yeah, that was where I blew the tranny.
Yep. Yeah.
I'll leave it at that because this is on YouTube. We don't want to get that.
Anyway, before we start talking about summertime scouting, everybody, if you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask away in the comments. Just leave like a question mark before your question. That way I can, filter them out quickly Also, if you like the show, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Maybe you'll win something these next few months. We still gonna give your bow away next month, Dan? Is that the plan?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay. And then July, we're gonna rotate back and forth. Of July, I'll probably scrounge together something else to give away. Maybe we'll talk to some partners and stuff and get some stuff to give away. All right. It's almost June now. It'll be June before you know it here. And I don't know if it's hot in Wisconsin right now, but it's pretty warm here in Indiana. It feels a lot like summertime right now.
It's over 80 right now. I'm sweating in here.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. My little room isn't heated or cooled. And it's fine if I keep the door open to the main house, it's so small, the house keeps it cooler, warm, but
I've done everything I can to cool off. I've taken off my pants, but you guys can see my upper body, so I'm gonna leave my shirt on.
Yeah, I hear you. So I wanted to get on here, and someone on the Beast forum mentioned they'd like to hear us talk about summertime scouting again. So I thought we'd just talk about that tonight for a while and answer questions people have. As far as topics I wanted to cover, Dan, is like it's a little early yet for like antler growth and whatnot, but people can reference it here in a month or two. But what, like right now, let's pretend like it's next week. It's not turkey season. I know you're going to start turkey hunting again, but like for me, turkey season almost gives me like a rebirth for deer hunting. Like I focus on turkey hunting for a month and a half, and almost makes me like miss the grind of deer hunting a little bit, to where right now I'm like, I kind of want to go scouting somewhere,
Yeah.
Or I
think I got a little excitement when I first go out turkey hunting, and it kind of starts turning into a grind.
Yeah.
Once I get out there, I'll be great. But I mean, I don't have that anticipation or excitement about going out now. I got a turkey and I'm fine. But I'll still go out and do it. But for me right now, this very moment, like you said, the deer don't have big racks on their head. They don't. You can't even really decipher them. You say, that could be a good deer, but you don't know, right? So what I'm doing this time of the year is I'm going out and tweaking a few stand sites. I got some spots I haven't quite got to yet, but I'm going to go more to, instead of the scouting mass areas, I'm going to go more into going and fine tuning setups. So there's a few spots that I kind of quick scouted that I never set up, which I shouldn't do. I should get those spots set up. But say you got an hour one day, before you got to do something, and I'll run out and scout something quick, and I'll locate some spots, mark them on my phone, and then leave and intend to come back. And I don't get back for a while, but I got to get them done before season. So that really big 10-pointer I was hunting last year, I've got some spots I picked out for him that I have not really tweaked. I just kind of like, well, right here. So now I got to kind of really make sure I got the right tree perfect, the right spot, covering the trail right, the access is right and stuff. So I'll fine tune those spots. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in my journal and I'm going to mark down what are my highest possibility stand sites and when I think is the best time to hunt them. And then I'm going to categorize them by wind. And, then on any given day, no matter what mindset I'm in, if I'm working all day and I'm not thinking right, I can open up that notebook and go to west wind and go, oh, number one, I forgot about that. I got to get out there. Yeah, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to randomly pick out those spots one after another this season, most probable to least, based on time frames I need to be there and winds I need to be there, and hunt them down.
Yep. That's something I do too. Like I actually plan out, like, if I have a free couple hours sometime, I'll sit down here pretty soon and just like kind of plan out the rest of the summer, like what I need to get done. Like if I need to go, like I need to spray a food plot, I need to tinker with some stands that me and Dad are going to put up, and like get all that crap organized right now. It's kind of what you're doing, but it's a little bit different. And just because, man, the summertime just goes by in a blink of an eye and it's over. And sometimes, having a list of things you want to get accomplished between now and deer season is pretty important. At least to give you something to organize your thoughts a little bit. But that's a good idea, going through your stand locations right now, just because it gets a little bit miserable. Like, you don't necessarily always want to, if it's 95 degrees outside, I don't know how gung ho a guy's going to be to go and scout for 10 hours in a day,
Mm-hmm.
So sitting down and just thinking about deer season a little bit, it's a good idea, and getting some goals on paper, maybe getting some spots, like you said. That's something I've like started a couple times, is what you talked about, is like getting all my spots written down. And it
Mm-hmm.
just seems like it all falls apart and I don't pay attention to it, but maybe that's what
What
somebody to
I
do this
found,
week.
if I don't do that, is I'll get halfway through the season and I'll get onto something and I'll be like, oh crap, I should have been here early. Damn, I had this scouted. I had this all figured out. Because you got to remember, your average guy is probably scratching his head going, what's he talking about, man? I know those spots
Yeah.
intimately. I'll never forget them. Well, they probably got 5 spots.
Mm-hmm.
I got 200 that I'm thinking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
that's where I'm categorizing them and trying to make sure that I keep track of, where I think certain bucks are living at certain times, so that I'm going after the right buck in the right spots. And if some buck pops up someplace, I know where to go after him. And I can just get a real quick refresher by opening a notebook.
Yep.
And I'll know which wind, which axis, and everything else by looking at that.
Yep. Something else that's good to do right now is like start planning. If you're going to go on an out-of-state hunt or something, just start thinking about that. Like, especially if you're your first one, there's probably some stuff that you don't have that you need. And, if you're going to take a buddy, try to make sure you're on the same page with him, and just start kind of maybe having every month talking about that with him and trying to get a plan together, and all that stuff. It seems like when out-of-state hunts, the more prepared you are, the better it goes usually, especially if you got someone going with you.
There's one big thing you're missing, though, too, is right now, or at least sometime between now and season, but now ain't a bad time. Guys should get their tree stands out and their climbing sticks,
Yeah.
and any other gear, but especially their tree stands and climbing sticks, and go over them really close. Make sure their cables aren't damaged. Make sure their bolts aren't bent or damaged. Make sure everything's got the right tightness to it, so it folds and holds there, it stays there. Make sure that there's nothing's
Stealth
going to go
strips
wrong,
and
no
all that
cracks in
crap.
it. Yeah,
Yep.
just go over to things, because your life depends on that stuff working right. And even high quality stuff like we sell, you should still look at it, because a cable can get kinked. You can get inside of a truck latch, or bolt can somehow get loose, or
Yeah.
you should always go over that stuff year after year. And I mean, just the fact of like just say you're the beast bat wing that goes against the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Just say that bolt got a little loose or something. I mean, if you don't realize it, I mean, it can bend on you when you cam lock the stand or something like that. Now, they should stay locked together. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't hurt you to once a year give it a good once over.
Yep.
Sticks, stands. I mean, when I think about when I used Lone Wolf gear, because they had that moving stuff, on the sticks and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the bolts would constantly loosen. If you didn't tighten them, you start get the bolts would bend, the holes would get worn out, they'd get worse and worse, they'd start making noise, and then you get floppy. You should keep that stuff in tune.
Something else is like, if you're thinking about getting something new, right now is a good time to buy it. Don't freaking wait till September to start buying crap for your arsenal, whether it be a stand or sticks or whatever. It's like, if you wait till September, for one, you may not get it, it may not be available. And for two, then you're kind of rushing around and all that kind of stuff,
Or just buy it the afternoon you're going hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But it is something like some guys do. They don't start thinking about hunting until a week before, and it's like, I'd like
you ever
to
walk into an archery shop like the week before deer season?
I'd
Everybody's in there buying their equipment. It's like,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
You need something just tweaked or something, like you're practicing and like, this is wrong. You walk in there and you can't even get in the door. It's
I know.
Like, average people don't think like us.
Right.
It's just totally different.
Yeah. That's a good point. Right now, like if you go to an archery shop right now, you get the first rate service. Nobody else is in there. They'll spend their board, so they'll spend however much time with you usually, Whereas if you go in September or October, it's like hey, we don't have time for you. Get out of here and keep going.
Yeah.
So just things to think
I
about if
find
you're.
that actually in a lot of the shops, it really turns me off. But a lot of the guys are rude when you come in here like the week before season. It's almost like they get annoyed to
Yeah,
a point that they just start getting rude with everybody.
yeah, it's probably true.
But
It's
like
probably
you
true.
walk in now, like you said, they're waving at you as you're coming off. Hey, how you doing?
Yep,
Come on in.
yep, yep. We went to one. Me and a buddy went in there. It's been a month or so ago, but he wanted to buy a new bow, and we went in there with him, and he. What's funny? I don't know if he watches the show or not. I don't care, but he uh, he was sitting there and he shot all the different brands, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I really like Prime. I like the guys there. This and that. He's like, I'll just get one of those, And I was like, yeah, you should, man. Like it's a good bow, and he liked it. I'm like, they all shoot good, And he didn't buy one that day. He's like, I'm gonna go home and think about it. And he came over and shot the other day. He had a freaking Matthews with him. I'm like, what? You bought the Matthews? I said, I thought you were gonna buy a Prime. He's like, oh, I just got to research it, and I really wanted this one. I'm like,
Let those
daggone it,
guys
man.
talk them into it.
Yeah, I bet. No, at the shop I think they were even like saying like Prime people really like that bow this year. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It is what it is. But I just was giving him crap. I was like, hey, what the heck? Not a big deal, but yeah, but you're right though. And maybe those guys have a justification for their frustrations. They're probably out like wanting to go deer hunting too, and then there's 47 guys waiting in line to get their peep adjusted or something. It's like,
Right.
what the heck. Um, but so yeah, get to thinking about your equipment, do some planning. That was a real good pointer, Dan, is start planning out stands and all that kind of crap this year.
There's always the guy in front of you in line who has his hat like this, and he's like, I bought this bow at a rummage sale, and when I put
Yeah.
it back, the broadhead hits the rest and it pops off the string. And can you fix that? And it's like a 3-hour fix, and you're like, I got things to
Yeah.
do. I just need
Yeah.
a peep.
Yeah. 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 I used to spend a lot of time in an archery shop when I was little. We had a local one in my town, and it's crazy what people bring through the door to a bow shop. They don't know any better though. Um, anyway, let's talk about like getting in the woods this time of year. I have a few points written down, but if a guy was going to go, or guy or girl was going to go and do some scouting right now, like boots on the ground, is there anything you tell them this time of year that'd be different than the springtime?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm probably personally I'm looking more at terrain at this time of the year,
Yeah.
because it's hard to see beds and stuff from fall.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder and harder as the grass grows in and stuff, and where they're bedding in summer is not where they're bedding in fall. So I wouldn't trust the beds you see. Doesn't necessarily mean if you find a bunch of beds that it's a bad spot. There are some spots that bed year round, but there are. If you're not finding stuff from last fall, it's kind of hard. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
you can still find that sign, but it's harder. But for the trained eye, you can look at the terrain and know where the bedding is.
Hmm.
I mean, I can go out into the woods and I know where it's going to be just based on the terrain. I can get in there, and then you can kind of find a sign that's hard to see because of the green up. But you see the rubs, you can kind of there had to be a bed there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can kind of see that stuff. So I think I'd look more at the terrain, um, the shapes, the points, the high
Transitions.
posts, and the transitions, the places where deer should be.
Yep.
It's hard to explain, but you get an eye for it. If you're going out there in spring scouting like me or you are, when you go out there at another time of the year, even when I go hunting, because I scout so much in spring, I can look at the terrain and go to a new area and go, okay, there's going to be one bedding over here, right over here.
Hmm.
And they are, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep. Yeah. And sometimes you can get overly excited in the summertime because, um, you know, you'll find a spot where there's all kinds of sign, in a certain area. But in all reality, if you're not seeing some of that old sign from the fall, that spot may be worthless to you in the summertime or in the during the hunting season. So you got to be very conscious of that. And the vice versa, you may get to an area where you're not seeing much sign at all. There's some remnants of old sign, and it's like that's probably where you need to pay attention to,
Mm-hmm.
And you got to have that mindset going into the summertime. Like, just because I'm seeing fresh sign, I got to figure out, why is it fresh right now in June or July?
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't I seeing old old rubs or old stuff like that? Old beat trails, and if they are here in the summertime, where are they going to be traveling in the fall when I'm deer hunting them?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's all things that you just got to get out there and kind of figure out. But just be very careful with like going out right now and finding a big old track and then picking out a spot and finding a bed and setting up in it. That may be completely useless come deer season.
Even when you say that, now as we get to the end of June and start getting into July, you're going to start to see racks form, and you start watching for them.
Yeah.
Now, with a lot of the really big bucks I've shot, I've found in July or August, glassing or shining or whatever, and then I hunt them later. But with that said, I also find a whole lot of deer that you find them in July or August, and about antler hard up, they relocate.
Yeah.
And I've seen it as much as 5-6 miles away.
Yeah.
You hear about somebody shooting the buck, and it's the buck because of a drop tine or whatever. And it's like 6 miles from where you're watching it. Right. And I've had those bucks where you watch them every summer, the same buck, the same spot, and they're at all in the fall. Not on the camera, he's not being seen. But I've also had them where you shoot them in October, where you saw them in July.
Yeah.
So, you can get onto bucks, but don't think it's 100%.
Yep. Yeah. Good point. When are you going to start like glassing fields and shining, Dan?
Probably towards the end of June.
Yeah.
That's usually when I start. And what you'll find is the bucks will first, the beams start coming out, and then the brow tines grow. Mm-hmm. So the brow tines will be first. So a really big buck should look like he's got real big brows and no tines. The tines grow last. And but what you'll see in the end of June is you'll see big brows, heavy beams, but they just come straight out and they stop. They don't come around or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't let that fool you. He's not done growing, obviously, right?
Yep.
Then you just kind of just keep watching, from afar, here and there. Watch how he's growing. Keep a long distance away from him. Don't tip your hat. And just keep an eye on him. Maybe he stays, maybe he don't. But you keep an eye on him, and you keep observing from a distance. And a lot of times they'll shift around, they'll start to move, they'll disappear. You got to kind of figure out, well, where did he go? What food's he eating now? Where is he at? But they're going to eat a lot of green stuff, and they're going to eat a lot in daylight during the summer. Yeah. So you'll see him right before dark. You'll see him in the mornings a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on the cool mornings when it's really hot. You see a lot of morning movement in the summer.
Yep.
Where a lot of that's nocturnal in fall. But during the summer, in the mornings, they're out in that cool air because it's so hot during the day and even into the evening. Mm-hmm. But get eyes on them and keep eyes on them. Some of those, like I said, you're going to lose. They're going to disappear. They're going to wander off, and you can't relocate them. Some of them aren't. And some of them, if you're keeping an eye on them, you start seeing that shift. You start seeing which direction they're going. You start seeing, okay, they started out in this field, and then they're on the other end of the field, and now they're over in this field over here. You get a direction of movement, and you just try to put some pieces together. And sometimes it's a guess, but those guesses can be more accurate than you'd think.
When a guy's glassing a field, is there like a certain area in the fields you like to watch, or that you typically see mature bucks come out versus other deer?
Yeah, they tend to come out in the lowest spots of the field. They'll even circle around to the lowest spot of a field. And I've laughed at so-called experts who will say they do that to hide from traffic and stuff, or to hide from people, the low spots to hide from vision. I don't think that's true at all. Because if you go around when they come out in that evening when they pop out in the evening, the thermals are dropping because the sun's going down. And anywhere you drop a milkweed in that field, it'll go to the lowest point. So they're going to the spot where they can smell the whole field before they enter it.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll even see rub lines and rub clusters down in those spots if they do that during the summer. But generally that's more at night after dark. But during the summer, they'll walk out into those low spots in daylight. Now, the trouble is you got to remember why they're walking out to that low spot, because now you set up across the field from that and you're on an elevation that just keeps rising up from that low spot. And what's going to happen to your thermal when it drops? It's going to go right to where he's at.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of be over a hill or in a way that your thermal is going to pull a different way. And you certainly don't want to be in a direction that deer is going to travel. You want to watch from a distance. Mm-hmm. Good optics. I mean, not just, these little tiny dinky binoculars people use for hunting. You need some big glasses like 10 by 50s, or you need a spotting scope.
Yep.
Those kind of things, and sit from a distance, not up close. You're not hunting them. You're trying to observe them. If you start getting into their safe zone, they're going to freak out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You, Mitch B on the Beast Forum was he had a good question that he's wanting us kind of to talk about, and we're kind of on the subject right now, but he'd love to hear like a situation where you use glassing over trail cameras to like find a deer and kind of keep track of him over the summer.
Mm-hmm. Glassing actually works better than trail cameras.
More in the summertime for sure.
Yeah. Now in the fall, you can cover specific areas out in the woods, where you can't glass and stuff like that. And you can even do that in the summer. You can put it in spots where like acorn flats or something where you really can't intimidate too much. But glassing, you can cover so much ground. You can do it from a car. You can go up on high spots, look across over wood lots. You can get really high up in a tree and see several fields at once. There's a lot of things you can do with glasses. I mean, you can cover 40 acres at once, where with a camera, you're covering a 20-yard spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always said, like, if you can catch a good night of I know shining's not legal everywhere, and it's like also very controversial anymore for some reason. But like, if you got a good night of shining, you can learn so much about the deer in your area. If the conditions are right and they're all out and about,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me and Maddie went out one night. It's been a handful of years back ago, but like we drove on this one road that I can hunt, quite a bit of land on, and there's some public land on it as well. And we saw like 10 different sheer bucks on it. And there's not that many more sheer bucks in that general area than that, It's like they were all just out in the crop fields eating beans at night, and you just got your eyes on all of them. And like, you can kind of tell by, okay, he's in this field. He's probably living up in here somewhere. And like, it just gives you so much data. Like you said, it doesn't always translate over to deer season, but it might, you just got to figure that out.
Shining can be a huge tool, tool. Even in season, and the best shining I've had is in rut.
Yeah, I bet.
You really see some bucks out in rut.
Yeah.
But just before season, like that 2 weeks before or so, you can really locate some deer and know that they're going to be there probably in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And really hit those fields. What really slows down the shining around here is when it's a good acorn year.
Sure.
Because then they're in the woods.
Yeah.
But when they're in the crops and they're in the green fields, it can be really good. But shining is hit or miss. I think it has something to do with moon phase, but on certain nights they'll really be out heavy, and then they'll start going away, and they'll start, there's different time frames. Like they'll be out at 9, and then later in the week they'll be out at 10, and then next week they'll be out at 11, and there's like this rotation of time frames when they're active. But you can go out for 15 minutes, and if you don't see deer, just turn around and go home. Because they'll be everywhere when they're out good.
Yeah.
But, like you said, I mean, there's certain properties you go by and you see all these deer out in the field, and pretty much everything's out there, and you're looking, and it's all 6-pointers, 4-pointers, spikes, does, fawns, and then you hit another woods and you see 3 10-pointers, an 8-pointer, and a 16-pointer, and I don't know about you, but I'm not going and hunting the one that's got the spikes and the 4-pointers.
Right.
So it can be a tool that puts you in the right area. It's not going to tell you where the deer bed. It's not going to tell you how to hunt. You still need skill. It's kind of like the trail camera you put over a food source. It's just telling you that there's one there. You got to do the work, which I kind of like. I kind of like the slight advantage of knowing I have a target and knowing what he looks like. And there's something about that motivates me. Like, okay, if I get my eyes on you, you're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But if I don't get my eyes on you, I don't have that motivation, that want.
Yep.
But there's something about seeing them and starting to put a pattern together, seeing them a couple of times in an area, you start to narrow that down. And maybe you don't see them in the same field every day, but you see them in like 4 different fields. Well, now you kind of get a pattern of he's in this general area because these are the 4 fields that I see him in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where it could be the other way or the other way, but when you start seeing them over here, you kind of know. So that keeping an eye on them, keeping a pattern going of where you see them. Sometimes it helps too to like if you're getting close to the season, if you're watching him, and it's say 8 o'clock at night and he's hitting a certain field, then you come by at say 11 o'clock at night, he's in a different field. And then 1 o'clock in the morning, he's over in a different spot. And you start to get a pattern, a direction of movement. And then in the morning, you see him going back or whatever. And you kind of get this pattern, and you can start doing, using your mind and using maps and stuff and going, okay, I kind of think he's coming from here. And there's only so many bedding areas he could be based on that movement. Mm-hmm. Now, the trouble is, at a certain time frame, I think it's like September 15th or something like that, or 10th. I'd have to look in the book. But there's a date in Wisconsin when you can no longer shine all night. You can only shine till like 10 o'clock at night to prevent poaching.
Right.
But up until that time frame, you can really do some patterning, and you can really start to figure out where's he coming from, where's he going to, that kind of stuff.
Shining is something that I have not taken advantage of like at all throughout my deer hunting career, whatever you want to call it. Like I've only, I've only been like a handful of times in general, but
I haven't done it much in the last few years, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But on the years I have done it, I've had a lot of success from it.
Yep.
My biggest buck ever at 15 pointer, I crawled up and shot in his bed. I wouldn't even have been hunting except for I shined him in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Me and my dad maybe might do some more this year. I got someone to go with me. Maddie was never real like hip to go out in the middle of the night looking for deer. She likes her sleep. So we'll see. I did buy a nicer spotlight this year, so a little more high power one and stuff. You made a good point though. You said earlier about how trail camera or glassing is a better tool for the summertime than trail cameras per se, and it made me think like about all these trail camera bans and stuff that we're hearing about randomly now, and like they're all in these western states, and like if I go hunting whitetails out west in like Nebraska or something, I probably not going to bring a trail camera with me, but I'd be lost without my binoculars out there.
Sure.
And it's pretty funny how like we think of certain tools as like, this is going to be the end of deer hunting and you're going to be able to kill every deer in the woods because of a cell camera or whatever. And it's like, then we got these, high-end binoculars that everybody uses, and we see way more deer and way more patterns on them because of those that people have been using for
You turned me on to those Maven binoculars.
Yeah.
And I have to say, since I started using those things are clear as can be.
Oh,
I can see crap from so far away. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I got the big ones though. I don't think you got that size. I got 10 by 50s. I
got 10 by. Yeah, no, I got the same one. I got 10 by 42s, but there's 10 power, so they're a little bit more narrow focus. But I got Maven spotting scope too. So
I should get one of those. I got a couple spotting scopes here, but they're junk. They're older ones. They work, but
yeah,
we need a better quality one.
Yep, I got their spotter, and I bought a phone scope is what they call it.
Those are cool.
Hooks onto your I've used it quite a bit, just just filming deer at long distances. I mean, it's crazy how detailed you can look at a deer, because you can put the mount on the spotting scope, and then you can actually zoom in farther. So like if the scope's 45 power, you can zoom in with your phone too to make it even closer. So you're almost gonna just get a headshot of the deer from that far away. It's cool. And I would tell people like if you're thinking about buying a pair of binoculars and you got $100 to spend on it, like I would just wait and save more money over the next year and try to buy a better pair. Like spending a little bit more money on binoculars makes a pretty big difference in the amount of clarity and functions of those binoculars. Now, if we're talking about things like me and Dan are talking about, if you're just sitting in there bow hunting and you're only shooting, you can only see 40 yards, you may not need an $800 pair of binoculars. But like, if you can, yeah, go ahead.
When I was younger, I wrecked a lot of binoculars and stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff, and money was tight. I used cheaper ones, and they worked. But there is a huge difference. So I know what you're getting from a quality pair from a junk pair.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like if you can afford to just save some money and just be patient, I would definitely recommend it. And like,
I'm really on board with that with everything lately. I came from low income and stuff, and now I'm doing okay. And I found that the more I spend on stuff, generally, not always, but generally, the more pleased I am with what I get. It's just that, getting good quality stuff, and you can go overboard. I mean, you can buy something that's just a, brand name that ain't any better than anything else. But I mean, if you really look into things and you look at reviews and stuff, you can find some pretty good stuff out there.
Yeah. Oh, you can go overboard on optics too. I mean, like, you can get a set of Walmart cheapos for $30, or you can get a set of, like, Maven makes one that's like the C series, and they're like the $300 range for the 10 by 10 buys. It's like the step below what me and Dan have. Then you can buy like Swarovski optics that are $3,000 for a pair of binoculars. It's like you can really go overboard, and it's not overboard for some people. If you're an outfitter out west, you probably, that's your tool for hunting and whatever. But something else is like a lot of the name brand optics now, Maven included, is like you get a lifetime warranty, and like if you bust them up on a trip or something, they just send you a new one. So that's a pretty nice perk, because I have used it once with Maven. I broke a pair I had, and they sent me a new pair. But
I broke my last pair. They weren't Mavens. They were I don't remember what they were, but they were a decent pair, but not as good as Mavens. And they didn't last me a season.
Mm-hmm.
But these ones have taken some abuse.
Yeah, they are a little heavier. I noticed, like the Mavens, they're a little heavier, but it's probably because they're built better, which is fine with me. I'd rather have them.
I didn't notice that, but they seem smaller. The 10 by 50s
really?
are smaller than the 10 by 50s of other brands.
Yeah,
they seem more but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. What else could we cover? Summertime scouting.
Aren't there any questions?
Oh yeah, I'm just making sure we didn't miss anything. Oh,
content.
Do what?
I said questions will get us into some content.
Yeah, I know some people were talking about trail cameras and how we're going to use them this time of year. Mm-hmm. You put anything out right now, Dan, trail camera wise?
Yeah, I got one over my driveway. I got one over my garage.
Yep.
One watching my truck. I don't have any out at this time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm planning on trying to get some out like in August, if I can do it delicately in some spots. And if I know I'm hunting a spot, I'm not. If I'm hunting a certain buck in a spot, and I think a lot of people make this mistake. They're hunting a target buck. They know that buck. They know where it lives. They know all that. And then they put a camera out there as like a pacifier. I got to get pictures of it so that I'm confident.
Yeah.
And that's like slapping them on the ass and tell them I'm coming.
Yep.
So when you put a camera out there is when you don't know what's happening.
Right.
You got a pretty good idea. I would trust your instincts and just lay off till you hunt it. I mean, a lot of guys just flood everything with cameras now, and you tip those deer off a little. So for me, having those cameras a little further back, not right into the kill areas. If I do put them in a kill area, it's going to be a cell cam, and it's going to be an area I'm not sure on the time frame he's there. And I'm going to try and get it in there stealthy and get out with as little damage as possible. But I do know that the more you go in there and the closer to season, the more you're going to screw up. Mm-hmm. So you're better off if you have one axis coming out of there or 2 or 3 axes coming out, just covering the axes coming out and not going into the hunt area, being further back than when you'd even hunt. Don't tip your hat.
Yep. Yeah, if you're going to put, I would recommend if you're wanting to put out some cameras, it's not a bad time to start getting things in the woods, but like be disciplined. Like don't be going in there every 2 weeks and checking them. Either A, wait till you're going to go in there and hunt and check them, or B, check them in January after season's over. It's like, then use that intel for next year. I put out a lot of cameras this time of year and earlier, but it's like, I forget about them. Like just forget about them unless it's one of those spots that you're really going to focus in on. And then go check them when you go in to hunt that area. And then also think about where you're going to put them at so I can check them without disturbing everything before I go hunting. And then hunt that spot if you check them or if there's nothing, if you don't want to hunt it, whatever, you move on. But it's like, if you're going to go in there and check it, don't be leaving and coming back in 2 days and hunting again. Like go in there and hunt it and check it.
A lot of guys nowadays, they put cell cams in all their spots. Mm-hmm. And they just monitor the cell cams and wait for deer to show up. And the problem with that is a lot of those deer, when they get to be a certain age, they notice those cell cams. And whether or not they keep coming in, they get nervous about them. And it doesn't matter if it's a cell cam, but they come in looking around and nervous because of that camera. And that can be a factor that hurts you. I think that's part of my point of putting that a little further away. It doesn't have to be 10 yards from your tree stand.
Yeah.
Maybe 40 or 50 yards would be better. Monitor a trail that that they're using, but not right under your tree stand where it's going to get them nervous around that spot.
Yep. Right.
If you're getting pictures where that deer's like this.
Right. He's onto you.
And he's looking at your camera all the time. He knows that camera's there and it's bothering him.
Yeah. Yep.
That ain't coincidence that he's staring at that camera.
Speaking of cameras, I probably should mention this because I don't think I ever have on the show, but like until I think June 12th, don't quote me on that though. If you guys need any cell cameras, Exodus is running a promo for 25% off if you use the code BTE. So if you guys need some Exodus cameras, it's a good time to buy one right now. Anyway.
Bacon, tomato, egg. You making sandwiches over there?
Yeah.
BTE is before the echo?
Yeah. BTE. Save 25%.
Sounds better.
Yep. Big. I left in the description, you can use the link to go into the website. It's not just cameras. If you want a Exodus hat or arrows or whatever you want, they're all on there. It's all 20. Their whole site is 25% off right now if you use the code BTE. Anywho, let's get into some Q&A, Dan. I think I haven't looked at the chat at all, so I'm sure there's a bunch of them, but let's see here. True Hunter asks, he's going to go scout hill country this weekend in Ohio. What signs should I keep an eye on? Planning on a November hunt.
I would probably look at the leeward points and stuff and try to find some sign of big bucks living on leeward sides with little bedding points or knobs or whatever. I mean, those hills are a little lower. You usually find them a little lower than the top third. It's probably like halfway up. But a lot of down there, what I found is that there's deer dropping towards fields and stuff. But I'd try to find where they're living in places that, look at the terrain real well. Look for your setups. Look for the funnels going around doe bedding and stuff. the saddles that connect to close bedding, things like that. I'd get in there and study maps before you go so that you're not wasting time. Have places to check. What do you think, Josh? You go over there a lot.
Yeah. If you're going for a right now and you're looking for stuff in the rut, just keep some of the stuff in mind that we talked about earlier too. Like, look for that sign that you think would happen in November or whenever you're going. Don't get too caught up on, crap that's going on right now. Also look at the acorns, see if you can find any old holes on the ground and kind of judge that as best as you can on what you think is going to happen this coming year with acorns up there, because you're gonna run into a lot of them.
Any place you're hunting in November should have rubs from last year.
Yep. Right.
They should be marking the spots where they're at in November. So you should see plenty of old rubs from last year in a spot that will be good this year in November.
Yep. All right. Jacob jokingly asked if you know anybody that's killed a big old tom on public lately. Yes, you, Jacob. You killed one on public.
You're looking for an applause, Jacob? Good job, Jacob.
Anthony says, we want to see more of Dan's world famous cooking videos. That's not really a question. You did not do a very good job of creating a question after your question mark.
I was at work the other day, and one of the leaders came over to me and he said, "Hey, I love your show." I didn't even know he watched, and he's like, "I watch it all the time." He goes, "I love the way you make a peanut butter sandwich."
That's funny.
People watch it.
I will promise you I'll do some cooking videos this summer. Man, I'm getting low on freaking deer meat, if you can believe that. I opened the freezer up the other day and I was like, crap, I'm not going to make it to deer season. I'm going to have to kill
I've been spying some pheasant back mushrooms in my backyard. I might.
Oh, yeah, dude. I can't.
More recipes for those.
People get all fired up for morels. I love like chicken of the woods mushrooms too. I can't wait to pick up some of those and eat some of those. Anthony also mentioned he'd like to see us see shows hunting with our family if they don't mind being on camera, which that reminds me, I was going to ask you, Dan, do you ever feel awkward like filming people that like new people that come hunt with you or anything, or your buddies that come like Dave? Dave didn't seem to mind too much.
I got pretty used to that. I think people get a little more awkward around me, like they don't know how to act or whatever. When you come, just be you,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I still have that. My buddy Ben, who hunts with me a lot, he doesn't have like Facebook or Instagram. He's not on social media and never has been. And so I'm always like real timid about like, I don't know, like I don't want him to be uncomfortable, but he never seems like it. It's just like my own thing with him,
I got a video I'm going to be putting out pretty soon that the diehards on here, I think are going to love. But I think it's not going to do real well because it's a bow fishing video.
Oh yeah.
But to me, it's awesome. I've been working on it, and it's just that's what you're saying about buddies,
Yeah.
Everybody's in it. Mario's in it. Rick's in it. Everybody's in it. And I was contemplating on naming it 100 Ways to Kill a Carp, because we throw spears at them, hand grenades, and hand catch them, and make a slingshot and shoot them, and bows and stuff. And it's just there's probably 300 carp get killed in that video. So I don't know. Sorry, just went on a tantrum.
No, you're good. I think it's a good idea. I put up a video today. Nobody watched it, but it's up.
Turkeys. People are getting bored of turkeys.
I know.
We got to put up Jacob's on too. Jacob shot a big bird.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, it's a big bird. I think it's from Sesame Street. I think that big yellow bird.
It's yellow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, if you guys are interested, go over the Hunting Beast and check it out. It's a short one, so you guys don't have to. If you don't like it, just watch it. It's only like 8 minutes long. All right. Golf Coastin Yes. What would you say is the most important sign you pay attention for when summer scouting?
For me, it's eyeballs on them.
Yeah.
I want to see them. I want to see the target. And that's honestly, that's what's killed the most of them for me during the summer. I mean, I've killed a lot of deer I've found during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great one to mention. I think if you're looking for specifically like sign is like, um, you can still see scrapes this time of year. Look for licking branches that are, if the scrapes covered with crap or whatever, just keep an eye on that kind of stuff that's close to bedding. And then, you can still see rubs all year pretty much from
Mm-hmm.
last fall. So just, it's not that they're, those deer, the sign isn't disappeared or anything in the summertime. It's still there. It's just harder to notice it.
Right.
You're not really looking for anything different. Tim asked if anybody's seen any fawns yet.
I had one walk out in front of me on road the other day. I had to stop for it, and it was wobbly legged, and it just stood there in front of my car at 10 feet. Me and Carol were driving back from being out to eat.
Really?
Cool, yeah.
I haven't seen any, but honestly, I haven't left the house in like 7 days. I've been kind of busy here. So um, they should be out and about though, starting at
I haven't
least.
seen any in the woods. I've been spending a lot of time out in the woods, but that
Mm-hmm.
one I saw on the side of the road.
Deer hunting Cajun asked if he said, Dan, do you still handwrite a journal or do you use your notes options in your phone or anything like that?
I use a purple crayon. Yeah, I pretty much handwrite them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I handwrite them in a notebook. Just, I mean, that might sound weird to the younger guys, but when you grew up doing that your whole life, it's hard to change that.
Right. There's something about writing it down by hand too. It's just kind of, I don't know, romantic or something. I don't know. I keep a notebook. I can show you guys mine. I keep track of everything in it. Like I have like all the states I have points for all different animals is in here and just random crap I keep in here. I write it all down by hand and I don't honestly trust your phone. Like I have to get a new phone every couple of years or every year I destroy one and it's like half the crap on my phone gets lost because I didn't back it up right or anything. And this notebook, I probably had this thing for like 8 years and I just keep crap in there that's important to me, or I need to
One thing
know.
I think I should do that I don't do, that I should start, but I haven't, is use that feature on Onyx where you can take a picture of the tree.
Yeah, I do that. I do that. Um, I need to organize my Onyx though because like Gary and Brad, the Gary and Zank and Global that I hunt with from Wisconsin, they all three of them have like a color coordination that they all share so that whether it be like the trail camera used to be here and we moved it, like it's all laid out and I don't know it, but they do a really good job of taking notes inside of their Onyx. And they take pictures of everything so that like if Gary would send a picture to or a pin to Brad, it's like let's go, you need to go here. Brad can just pull that up and there's a picture of what it looks like for him. But I haven't got that technical with it.
Yeah, I'll be careful how I say this, but one thing that annoys me about Onyx or other apps like that
Mm-hmm.
is that the owners of that company have the ability to see your points and they know who you are.
Yeah.
And literally, they could be looking up famous people or well-known people or hunters' points when they're hunting out of state and looking at them. And you always wonder about that. The same thing with like cell cams. When you use a cell cam, the owners of the cell cam company have the ability to look at the pictures that you're taking, just like you do.
Mm,
I don't know if a lot of people know that.
that's getting deep, Dan.
But it's true. It's absolutely true.
Oh yeah. Not to mention any names again, but I have heard of rumors of that happening.
I have too.
With certain apps. So
Yeah, I wouldn't name the apps, but I've
no,
heard
sure.
of people who were hunting in the vicinity of those people, and they're well-known people, and they end up at every one of their points.
Yep. I've also heard a buddy of mine who is pretty well known on YouTube on YouTube. He had one of those companies, a guy reach out to him and thank him for giving him some of his points, and he's like, I didn't give you guys my points. And come to find out, he was hunting with the guy that had access to all that, and he was getting it, but told the other guy that my buddy gave it to him. So anyway, yeah. Most of you guys probably don't have to worry about that, and we probably don't either, but maybe,
Eric is texting me like crazy saying he doesn't want to interrupt me while a show's going on.
Yeah.
But that I should tell you that a lot of people want to call in.
Okay. we'll put the call in link here. I would have eventually got to the comments. I'm not far enough down yet. Buck Norris asks, during early season, do y'all focus on food more or bedding?
Mainly bedding, but a lot of times it's surrounded by food. Food has a big focus in early season, but you still got to be close to the bedding.
Right. All right, we got a call in here, Dan.
Dan, I wanted you to put on a dress for me, not just give me a round of applause for the turkey.
Turned you on, didn't it? You like that dress footage, eh?
I don't think being scarred for life is code for turned on, but some real. Was that Carol's dress?
No, I wouldn't have bought that. You should saw the looks like that. I got some look.
So you bought a case of Bud Light and a dress and some wigs, and you left the store.
I went up to the counter, dressed like a hunting beast, and put on a dress and some lipstick and a wig.
Well, now you're completely camoed.
And the lady looked at me and said, "I got a date."
Oh, that's great. Okay, so I have kind of a big question for you guys. So first off, some guys want me to give them a shout out. The Beast of the Echo or whatever this group chat is, that's your super fans, Josh, essentially. They all wanted a shout out. Stan wanted me to mention that he's a god. But the real question, he said I had to say it. But the real question is
backwards. You're reading it backwards. Dog.
Stan is a dog.
He is an OG here on the show. I think he has watched every one.
Dog.
Yeah, he's a great dude. But so there's a long question, but if you guys could only have one method of preparing for deer season and all other ones were taken away, and you were preparing for a season like, say, you did last year, Josh, where you guys are going to multiple states, you're going out of state hunting new properties every time, and you had to choose one scouting method. Now, whether that's boots on the ground preseason, boots on the ground, or boots on the ground in season, glassing, shining, trail cameras, what would you guys choose if you could only have one of those methods? Now, I know it's not going to be trail cameras already, but just to throw out the options out there.
I mean, I'll go first. I would boots on the ground during season. I mean, I could probably get away with not scouting in the spring and still have success. It'd be, obviously that's a pretty big jump start, but I would still say half the deer I kill, if not more, are probably just from in-season boots on the ground scouting,
Yeah.
For me. All my out-of-state hunts definitely were.
Yeah, I think out of state I'd be boots on the ground too.
Yeah.
But with that said, a lot of my biggest deer in state have come from spring scouting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figured because Dan, a lot of your iconic stories are deer that you saw from a parking lot or somewhere, or like during a hunt or something like that. Josh, like every deer that you killed last year, I think you were saying you laid eyes on beforehand. So I think I don't know, maybe for a guy in Kansas or something where they're glassing very wide areas and they got high opportunity to see deer, doing that natural stuff. Maybe that answer changes, but I think it's really hard to replace that in-season boots on the ground, especially if you're on a foreign property. So,
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, guess that's enough of me. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye. All right, we got a lineup going on here, Dan. So, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
How you guys doing?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Dan, I asked a question a week or two ago about you guys' footage of setting up close to a deer with your stands, the footage of you actually climbing the tree, and I found your video. I think you were actually using one of your competitors' stand at the time with the old video. And you mentioned in there about not using a lanyard because you think it's too much movement. But you don't show yourself putting up this hooking the stand up, and I'm kind of curious to see that. I think I'm finally finding some beds where I'm going to be close in like you guys are doing, and I'm curious to see that footage. And then because of you talking about not using a lanyard, I'm guessing you don't like to use your 3-fingered hooker when you're that close to a bed too. Would I be right to think that?
Yeah. Probably not, but I do sometimes hook up the bow on one trip because when you're sliding into a bed and you think you can be seen, it's hard to get it up and down twice, but it all depends. Most of the time, the average hunt I go on, I set the first stick up at ground level. I can reach up and set the second stick up at ground level. The third stick, I'm just one step off the ground, and I'm on the back side of the tree, so it's very little movement. That fourth stick is where you got to climb up, a little bit and get a little into view, and then I have the stand on my back on the fourth stick, or the fifth stick, depending on how high I go, but generally 4 is usually. So then I get up there, and then I'm a little more careful, and then I'm on the back side of the tree so that I'm using the tree as cover. And from the backside, I can look around the tree in the direction of the deer, and I can see kind of how high I can get without getting spotted and stuff. And then I'll try and just get the stand off my back while I'm on that fourth stick, unfold it, and slide it around that tree and get it in the front of the tree facing the way the deer are coming from, and get it around and get it hooked up onto that tree and try to just kind of work it in tight. And then I just want to hug that tree and real slowly slide around into that tree stand and be on the front side of the tree. And the whole time I'm scanning, so I can see if anything's looking in my direction or if I'm too high, too low, or whatever. And then from that point, generally before I get into that stand, I'll slide down and get my bow and slide back up. Or what I'll do is I'll drop my string from the stand. I'll hook a string to the stand, like a clip-on string, real quietly to the cable. Yep. I'll drop that string down, and then I'll go down and hook up the bow. Now, in a perfect world, you'd hook that bow up at ground level, and I think a lot of people do that and have that bow hooked to their side or something and climb. But I'm rarely hunting in a perfect world. It's usually a tangle of branches, and when you're climbing, that string's wrapping around everything. But when I'm up there, dropping it through a little hole and stringing it down in a straight line is easier. And then I'll go down and I'll hook on the bow. You could do that with the 3-fingered hooker if you got your bow in line underneath you and grab it. Right. But I am avoiding making noises at any cost and movements. But that's how I do it. I've showed a little of that, but there's a lot of liability for a guy who owns a tree stand company showing exactly how you do things in a tree. Insurance companies really frown on that.
Yeah, that makes sense. One other quick question while I got you here. I've been working some beaver pond areas, and I'm finding good islands with bedding on them. Some islands got buck rubs on them, and some don't. Should you concentrate more on one than the other, or just try to figure out what time of year they're using the island?
That's a real good question, because there's several reasons they rub or don't rub in those spots. One, they could be not rubbing because there's no competition and there's only like one buck or so that beds in there. Number two, they could be not rubbing because of the time of the year they're bedding there. They're not in competition, like say early September or late winter, when they're not worried about other bucks, right?
Yep.
But when they do rub in there and they're rubbing right next to the beds, generally that tells you that there's more than one buck competing for that spot, which is a good thing. And then if they're bigger rubs, it tells you that there's bigger bucks competing for them spots. But with that said, I've been in areas where there's only one big buck in the whole woods and the rest of the bucks are, like 2-year-olds or younger. And this is like a 5 or 6-year-old buck. And he's the only one around because of the pressure. And you came there just for that buck, say, right? That buck won't rub up his bedding area because he doesn't care. Nothing will come near him. They'll respect him as the king of the woods. Now, the biggest buck I ever shot was like that. That buck lived in a bedding area. I watched him for 2 years, bed there every time there was a west wind. It was like the perfect spot where you couldn't get near him. I even picked up one of his shed antlers right out of that bed. And there wasn't a rub or a scrape within 100 yards of that bed. But there was never another buck bed in there either. There's never another buck in the area. And they respected him.
Right.
So it's hard to say for sure, but if you put your detective hat on and there's rubs all over that woods and there's not at that bed, it probably wouldn't pique my interest. But if there's not much for deer there, it's real low density or something, then it might pique my interest. If you're really not sure and there's no rubs and stuff, a lot of times you just throw a camera in that area and just see what happens. Monitor it for a season or whatever. And, maybe you hunt it, maybe you don't, but at least for the next year what exactly happened there,
Right. I don't want to take up all the time, but I would like to say, when you talk about your journal, I would sure love to hear as much as you'll want to talk about it. For the first time ever, I finally did a whole season. I mean, I've tried different years and get bored with it or can't keep up with it. And, I try to put as much detail in as I can, and some nights it just feels like I'm writing a book just for one evening's hunt. And so I'm just kind of curious as to how, especially when I hear you say you handwrite yours, because that's me totally. So whenever you got time or talk about that stuff, I think a lot of people would probably like to hear that.
Okay. Well, first off, one thing I want to say right away is that if you go on the huntandbeast.com, the website, I believe it's in, there's a forum in there called journals. And in there, I have a whole season that I did keep a journal online for everybody to see. I think I take that back. I think I might've moved it to the 500 club. So I think you got to be a 500 member because I kept having people using it to figure out where I was hunting. But that's why I don't do them all the time publicly. But I just thought that the 1 year, it was a really good learning tool to just let everybody see how my mind worked on going in after them things. And how it was, but one of the big things for me with the journal is, personally, I would be on a hunt and something would happen. And I'd write in my journal what happened. And it'd be something that, like, say I saw this big buck and he did this certain behavior, and went through a certain way. And I'd be like, okay, this is going to repeat itself. Maybe I saw him twice from this spot and I need to move into this other tree, but I had blown the hunt already. I was too far back or something. Not a deer's come through, smell me. Next year, I need to be in this next tree, this next date. And the next year will come around and I'm remembering, okay, this right at the end of September, I got to be there. And then you look in the journal and it was 2 weeks into October. And gosh darn, I could swear it was the end of September. And no matter how much I don't want to admit it, my memory ain't always exact, but what I write down is.
Right.
So having that journal detailed like that is important because you will forget things or you'll remember them different. It's kind of like videoing. I've had hunts where I see certain things, and I hate to even admit this out loud, but it's true. I'll see things, and later I'll be editing video, and I'll be like, that's not what happened. But obviously the video don't lie, right?
Right. Yeah.
So all that stuff helps. Anything that can refresh your memory or you can look at it and see something from a different point of view, all that stuff helps. So I think that journal, the biggest thing is that you have detailed notes that you're not going to forget because they're concrete on paper with your purple crayon.
Cool. I don't do all this stuff, these websites you mentioned, but my wife could probably figure it out. So could you mention them again? Well, I guess I can just watch the video again. That's good. I got it.
It's thehuntingbeast.com.
Yep.
Okay. And then you said something about a 500 club. What do you mean? What's that?
You're going to have to look in the journals. I'm not sure if it's in there or not.
I got the site up here.
I'm
not in the 500 club yet. You got to have.
Oh God, I'll never make it.
I have like
500 posts.
I have like 370 something. I looked the other day.
Okay. But the journal is open to the public.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who keep journals in there, and a lot of good hunters.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is open to the public, isn't it, the journal? You can see it, right?
Yeah, I have to look at it here. It may have taken me longer than what I had to get it back up.
Well, I'm not trying to hold the show up. I just want to make sure I had it right.
No worries.
If you want, send me a message after the show, and when I see your message, I will go look for that and see if I can find it for you.
Yep. Awesome. Hunting journals are open to the public.
Okay. I might be able to find that one, and I could probably move that to the public for people now. When I moved it, I was worried about those spots. I'm not worried about them anymore. So I could probably, if it's not in there, I can move it to the public. Just send me a reminder if you can, like on, I don't know, however you get a hold of me, some sort of message.
Well,
just here?
My wife could probably put a message at your beast stand, at your beast thing.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, I just got to sweet talk her into doing it. I probably used up all my brownie points tonight getting on here.
All right, Mike. We got a couple more in line here. So thanks for
good to talk to you guys. Keep it up.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I gotta move that journal back to the public. That was a pretty good journal.
Yeah, I don't see it up there right off the bat, but
yeah, I think I moved it to private. I'll move it to public. Hey, Stefan.
Hey, man. Hey, guys. So I have a quick little situation. I was wondering if I could kick you. So I was scouting in February, and if you imagine like an L, right? So at the top of the L, it's like at the top of this ridge. It's like a doe bedding, right? Mm-hmm. And then at the bottom of the L, there is like a pond with some cedars and pines, and so it's down the ridge. And I found 2 nice rubs right around this pond. Now, and then if you go down the L, like across, like same elevation, there's like some oaks, some and acorns and stuff. And so I was kind of wondering and now the rubs were in the cedars and the pines, and they looked like sort of fresher, I think. I'm not really sure exactly how to age rubs, but they looked a little bit more orange than gray. So I figured, okay, probably made later in the season. So I'm thinking, okay, one, I didn't really have time to find like a good buck bed around this area. So I don't know exactly where he's bedding, if it's even near there. But so one question I had was, given that the rubs were kind of a little bit in between, they were near the pond, but like in between the pond and the doe bedding, like one, would the buck actually bed like downwind of doe bedding like that, or down the elevation from the doe bedding, just so we can consistently smell them? And then 2, I was kind of trying to think of how to approach this area. Like, do I just go in the late season, like maybe when they were making the rubs, or because there's like a pond and some acorns near there, would I hunt it in the early season? I don't know. I can't really. It's
really hard to answer that question. There's a lot of scenarios that could change the answer. First off, let's just say the rubs are later or whatever, I believe that those does might be coming off of that point and going on and using that water. And it's very common for a buck, when he's looking for does, to cross those doe trails and mark them with rubs. Okay. So those could be rut markings of checking the does that are going to the water. Okay. From that bedding point, because it's in between, right? So it could be cross traffic. Yeah. So when you think of that cross traffic, you think they could be bedding one side or the other, on that angle. It could also be what you mentioned. They could be bedding right there during the rut, monitoring the does there. We call those rut beds. but they're a very short period of time. There could be activity there because of the acorns early.
Yeah.
But I think really the piece of the puzzle you're missing is the main piece. The most important one you need is, where is he bedding?
Yeah.
So I think it really needs a closer look or an examination. Or if it's too late in the year to do that anymore, maybe you just need to study some maps and take some guesses at where you think he could be coming from based on the terrain and stuff. And just try some stuff, during the season. Go out and bounce at it.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Like if I were to go out there, now, like would I still be able to see a bed that he was bedding in from like last season? Like how long do these beds stay matted down?
For a trained eye, I think you might be able to see it, but I don't know. I can't say you would.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's even hard for me. A lot of times at this time of the year, I can tell where there's a bed because I've looked at millions of them, right? But what I'm seeing is just a spot where the only vegetation growing there is grass, and I'm saying, well, there should be sticks and brush there. That hole is exactly where a bed should be, and the only reason that there's a round oval space there is because a deer was bedding there.
Right.
But you're not going to see that grooved in spot with the hair in it and stuff because the grass is growing through it by now, right?
Right.
So it's not easy to see that stuff, and then it's even harder to determine whether it's buck bedding and stuff right now. So a lot of it I'm basing on terrain.
Yeah.
So if I was going in there, what I'd probably be doing is guessing based on the terrain. I would probably look at some maps, and I don't think it would hurt you to take a walk in there right now and take a look around and maybe try to determine trails or find rub lines that are joined into the rubs you've seen, see where they're coming from, see if it looks like they're coming out of stuff that could be bedding, but probably ain't anything else. Like I like to say, random rubs you find anywhere, kind of like on the ridge you found.
Yep.
Could be any time, any place. It's kind of hard to determine. But if you're able to pick up some sort of rub line or a direction, and you find those rubs coming in and out of like a dead end, there's only one reason they're going down into water and cattails and stuff. They ain't going out there to eat clover. They're going out there to bed, right?
Right.
So when you find it in that situation, it's a little more obvious what's going on, right?
Yeah.
That can help you, but otherwise, I got no real concrete answers for you.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's I don't know. I'll probably try to hunt it at some point. I don't know exactly when, but I am kind of excited about it because it's one of those spots that I noticed there was a pond there, but it wasn't on like the Onyx topo layer. So if people just look at that topo looking for like ponds and stuff, it wouldn't show up. But I was like, it looks like there's a pond here. I'm gonna go check it out. And sure enough, it's one of the few rubs I've found on this property. So
yeah, I mean, the early season, if there's acorns there, you could have bucks in there early bedding where those does are bedding. Down using the water and eating the acorns. It's worth a shot to check out the area. There's something big around there.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for the advice. I'll leave it to some other people now.
All right. Thanks, man.
Good luck, Stephen.
Have a good one. All right. We got one more call in here. Hey, Furman.
Hey.
How's it going? Uh-oh. Yeah.
It's going good.
Furman, man, I don't think you got a good enough service, man. We can't drag those kind of calls on very long.
Yeah, sorry, Furman.
If you Furman, if you can get in better service next time, you were frozen completely. So, all right, Dan. We got one more comment here we got to get to, and that's from Elizabeth. Thanks for the donation, Elizabeth. She didn't have a question. She just wanted to comment that she thinks people have a very difficult time deciphering trails, whether they're buck or does.
Yeah, that's true. I guess a lot of your heavy trails are just general deer trails, and a lot of times your mature bucks just kind of move a little in their own kind of way. But you can have heavy trails that are buck trails too. I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. I guess you kind of got to go by the sign, the size of the tracks, the rubs, the details. I mean, like a lot of times in the cattails, you can see the doe trails will be so narrow. There's no way you could get a rack down them. And the buck trails, the cattails, a lot of times will be busted off at antler height. when they're, at least after they dry up, you know.
Right.
It's,
Yep.
I think really, to me, you don't really need to know the trails that well. You just need to figure out the bedding and get close to it. Really, it seems to revolve around everything that causes success. You know, is getting in close to that bedding, because that's where they move in daylight.
Right. Yep. It is, you know, a group of does, though. If, you know, you have 4 or 5 does together, they can make a lot of sign in the woods, though.
They can,
you know. So, all right, everybody. Thursday night we got to almost none of the questions tonight. There were so many, so maybe Thursday night we'll just dedicate it to answer some of these questions and do a Q&A. Sound good to you, Dan?
Yep.
Be an easy one. So, all right, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you in a couple nights.
See everybody Thursday.
Hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe. Win some gear.